Well, our last show was a preview to ICAST during the beginning of ICAST, and we kind of speculated and pontificated all the things that we saw online at the Omnia preview and the Bassmaster preview and did all that. Well, now tonight we're going to get what really happened at ICAST from people that are in the know, people that were actually there. And then I think we're going to touch a little bit on why Waypoint management has to suck so bad, and is there anything we can do about it? And then just maybe talk some tackle. So tonight I bring to you Pete and Kipp from Omnia. What's going on, guys?
What's up, Rich? Well, long time no see, Kipp.
You get a nice little break here. A couple trips going on.
I do. I got 2 days in the North Country in Minnesota, and then Monday I'm actually in South Carolina. I'm going to do a little fishing there for a couple days with some media types in the fishing industry. So I won't be back till the end of next week. So Kipp's got to hold down the fort. So if you guys got any questions, shoot them Kipp's way all week long.
There you go. So Pete's no. I mean, if you follow Omnia, you're no stranger to Pete. His face has been kind of synonymous with Omnia since really the beginning.
Yeah,
he's part of all the clips and videos, and he's on BTL. He's been on this stream before. So, but I don't know, Kipp. I mean, he's been on some Omnia live streams and stuff. But if you've had any customer service questions in the last couple of years, you've probably seen Kipp's name. You might have chatted with him on the web or an email or talked to him on the phone. So yeah, glad to have you guys on. Welcome, Kipp. Speaking of notifications, I don't feel like they went out that well for me. We got off to a soft start tonight. Not a lot of people.
We burned you, Rich. We burned you.
It's all right. Maybe it's because I set it up so late, but yeah, what's going on? Hopefully, I think sounds good, looks good.
Yeah.
Frank, this is going to probably be more Pete's assessment, and so yeah, we'll talk ICAST and a few other things, and just hang out. And yeah, can you guys believe July is over after today?
No, I can't at all. I've been in full-on panic mode for 2 weeks straight since all the nightmare getting back from ICAST. So you're right. Same thing you hear all the fishing industry people whine about. It's all of a sudden July's over and I haven't fished like I said I was gonna. And I hope to change that going forward. So, but yeah, July's over, guys.
Well, that's unfortunate. So did you get a free extended stay, or did you make it out of town from Orlando, Pete?
I got out a little late, but I got out that night I was supposed to go out. Now I was right there when it all crashed, but we didn't know. They weren't telling us what was happening. We got on the tarmac and drove around in the plane for 2 to 3 hours. We got in Minneapolis at 1 a.m. and woke up in the morning to all the nightmare stuff going on in the airports. And Jacob, if you guys are familiar with Jacob, the buyer at Omnia Fishing, he's been on here, I believe, and a bunch of other streams. He did 4 days straight of canceled flights. He was stuck in Orlando for 4 days. He ended up in line with a lady from Minnesota when their 4th flight got canceled, and the two of them decided to become best friends and rent a car and drive home 25 hours together. So pretty cool
awesome.
stuff. Yep.
Does she fish?
No, but her husband was a bass fisherman, so she knew of the bass fishing industry, but she wasn't. She's not an angler herself. But Jacob said they were very talkative for 3 hours. They had a great conversation, and then they both got dead damn serious about driving home straight, and just both took turns sleeping and driving. So
nice. Well, hopefully Jacob convinced to sign her husband up for some premium pro.
I hope so. I hope he did something those 4 days.
All right, so you got out of town.
Yep.
So you were the whole show? Were you there for the preview stuff? Like,
I usually get in the day before and go get badges and go check out the new product showcase. Big secret out there in the industry. I'm sure a lot of you guys know. Like, a lot of people wonder how a lot of that stuff gets voted for all the new product awards and stuff. So if you're in the industry and you're in a segment that I'm in anyway, I get to go vote on that stuff. And you can imagine, having spent as much time as I have in the industry, I have some friends that put some entries in there. So I get buttered up to go check out the product showcase and give me a vote if you can. So I do my lap around in there and check out that stuff. And believe it or not, I do take that stuff pretty serious because there is a little bit of politics that go into that, more than I think there should be at times. But honestly, it really is voted for by a lot of industry people. Just sometimes they can get swayed. So it's a lot like our politics in the world. So I go take that pretty serious, do that, and then I go out to dinner or two with a vendor the night before, and then it's 2 hard full days at the show. This year, I bailed out a day early. Normally, I'm there through Friday, but this year I had some family to do, so I did 2 real busy days, and then I got out of there. But I mean, truth be told, we at Omnia, and it's a good thing. At times it doesn't feel like it, but we've gotten big enough now in the last 4 years. I mean, really, realistically, we've been in retail for 4 years, and that feels more than that, I know, but that's it. We're big enough now that typically most of the vendors have come and seen us and shown us everything pre-ICAST. So we've already either booked the product, or at least we know about it, we've seen it. So when we go to ICAST, it's more of a political thing where we're shaking hands, meeting at marketing people, talking about launches, trying to work out better programs or better stuff for us as a vendor or us as a retailer. And then we're also there on the hunt for new stuff that we haven't seen or we need to add as we expand and grow Omnia into some bigger company over time.
Yeah, more strategic things, like is there promos, is there partnerships, is there exclusives, right? Are there things that we can do? And then you're kind of looking for those diamonds in the rough, right? Not necessarily from the big companies, but can you catch like a core tackle?
You got it. That's exactly. It's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. Yeah. Where's the next core tackle? Where's the next, Hayabusa or Ryugi or something, like along the lines where you do some volume with it. And so we walk that. Jacob does more of that now than I do. He's had a better eye for it. Imagine that. The younger guys had a better eye for new stuff than me. I'm a little bit more jaded now. So that's Jacob's jam. So.
Cool. So what is there anything, unexpected, I guess? What was the
I don't think it, like I said, it wasn't unexpected because I'd seen the stuff ahead of time, but a lot, as all of you can imagine, the live scope thing and scoping minnow thing is not going away anytime soon. And everybody figured it out this year. It did take 2 years, but this was the year that the entire industry figured out that they need a minnow shaped bait and a jig head to go with it. So there was a ton of, and you got to imagine from my perspective, I have to walk from booth to booth, and somebody's got a home run or two, by the way. And you have to stay open-minded, but everybody's bait shows up better on forward-facing sonar. Everybody's bait, does all these things. So you kind of got to really get picky and look at it. And I'm pretty good with that with rods and reels. It's tougher for me when it comes to something that I'm not super good at. I'm not a great scoper, right? So as much as I've been trying and immersing myself in it, from afar, I can't tell you whether or not this one's going to roll better, or it's going to get bit better, or it's going to show up on your scope better, or whatever. I can just go by what the manufacturers say. So, like you can imagine, we added all of them, and we're just going to go a little lighter than we normally would go now that we're starting to scale up, because we're going to have to see who wins and who does the best stuff and who makes the thing that people rebuy over and over and over again. Who finally is going to make the next Sakamata shed? Because I'll be completely honest with you, there's a couple baits that I think are in line with that Sakamata shed. I really do. I think there's a couple baits that we've seen fish with that Sakamata shed, but to be completely honest with you, nothing's come close to the volume we see go out the door and the repurchasing of the Sakamatas the way you see with your favorite Senko, your favorite, Rage Straw, whatever, that's the scope and minnow still right now is the Sakamata. So yeah, to your answer, I didn't see anything that blew my mind because I kind of knew going into it. What I would say was probably the biggest surprise to me from the industry standpoint was how much I think you're going to see that the industry adapt to some of the newer baits, the scoping stuff or whatever, but everybody has the same feeling that they're waiting for kind of the cyclical thing that happens in the fishing industry, like when the spinnerbait was dead and all of a sudden the spinnerbait come back, that all of us about 4 weeks before ICAST started seeing a rise back in the traditional baits that have been absolutely dead. So your crankbaits are selling a little better. They're still hurting pretty bad. But your buzz baits, frogs, jigs, all the stuff that was really kind of slow is starting to pick up, and you're seeing what I think it is. And Rich, I hope you have an opinion on this, but I think it's just there's a lot of people that, from the Omnia customer standpoint, dove into scoping and found it to be either hard or not as fruitful as they thought it would be, and have reverted back to some of their other stuff. But more than that, even, I think it's just a matter of, we've had some good water this year as far as high water. We haven't had low water. And some of the old school tactics, the summertime stuff, still works. And so some consumption happened, and people lost a frog or two and lost a spinnerbait or two. And, some swim jigs got bit off or broke off, and people are buying some more of that staple stuff. But I will tell you, there was a couple months there where I was honestly shocked at how much we were selling more spinning tackle at Omnia Fishing for the first time since the inception of the company, which doesn't sounds normal to people in Minnesota. They're like, of course. Well, we're not a big. We're good in Minnesota. We do great in Minnesota. It's one of our biggest states, but it's not our biggest state by a long shot. We sell a lot more casting equipment, and we've been selling way more spinning equipment this year.
Sure.
And you all can guess why. So I guess I'd leave that up to you. What would you attribute the last 4 weeks of seeing the staple summertime baits start to fly out the door like we didn't see this spring?
Yeah, well, I think season, right? So I think outside of your smallie fisheries, summertime is not necessarily prime scope time in a lot of the country, especially up north. I think the fisheries where you've got grass and perch and bluegills are the primary forage. Can you catch them hanging a minnow? Sure, but I don't know. Like your traditional techniques of chatterbaits and flipping and drop shots and things like that are in 80% of our lakes are the hanging the minnow is not the deal. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not seeing it. I don't think the team trail and the Champions Bass Tour and all our big circuits, I don't think anybody's dominating hanging a minnow like they are down south.
I've seen the same thing. I've been watching. But do you think that's because our anglers haven't adapted and found those fish that haven't been picked on, like a lot of the heavily pressured tournament fisheries down south? I kind of like your thought of it seasonally. It might not be as big a player in the summer. I just was shocked how much to see even during the cold weather months and the spring months, we saw a massive effect with chatterbait sales and all that stuff. It was all hinging towards jig heads and minnows, even in the spring.
I think people are getting sick of it too, right? Like for the last 6-7 months, that's pretty much all everyone's talking about is live scope. What minnow rolls the best. I think people are getting a little tired of it, and it's tedious too. It's a lot more, at least to me, it's a lot more fun to go flip grass and set the hook hard with a casting rod than it is to stare down at a screen and shake a minnow. But
I don't know. Yeah. I haven't decided whether or not it's just our pigheadedness and what's worked for us so well up in the Midwest. We haven't had that insane awakening of some gangster scopers coming up here and showing us all we don't know what we're doing. We haven't seen that. Obviously, I've had a little bit of success doing it up here, but nowhere near where I'd be confident saying I could win a tournament doing it. You know what I mean? I think I'd get smoked, to be honest with you. It's hard. It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. So to Kipp, your point, I think a lot of us bought the stuff, got out there, and we're like, it's summertime. I know I can go catch them right now on a football jig or a frog. I can go out deep and catch them on a football jig, or I can go shallow and catch them on a frog. Why am I throwing this minnow? I don't know. I still feel like there can be somebody, someone could give us a little bit of a wake up call, because I've personally got to witness it myself. Some of the really, really good scopers make us look a little foolish on some of our little honey holes around here in the metro anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, did they make it look silly on hanging a minnow or just scope in general?
That's actually a good point. A person that I don't know if you know him, Rich, but Kipp knows him. We had a guy working with us that's now at Rapala, Luke Lowy's buddy of ours. Luke is a sniper, right? Kid knows just that's what he knows. That's what he does. That's it. Like that's the game. It's the screen and it's scoping. That's his. He's a one trick and he's a sniper. We did some little club stuff. We do not little Omnia derbies that we do just with the warehouse guys and our teams and stuff, and we go. And he was going to little lakes around the metro here and throwing a jig, but on scope, but out in the basin. He was out picking off fish that no one else was. He didn't know the lakes. He's from Wisconsin. He's here. He wouldn't even go follow a weed line or drive around or jump on a point like I would do if I was new to a lake, or jump in the first row of docks I saw. He'd just drive out in the middle, get out in the basin and pick off big fish. To your point, he wasn't doing the minnow shaking thing. He was just doing it with some traditional.
So I think the minnow thing is a forage base. I think scoping has its. I mean, like you can, whether you want to snipe fish in the basin or just be more efficient fishing offshore. Like I caught 23 pounds on a chicken jig in Burnsville on a like on a lake that gets hammered. And I don't unearth those fish like that. And I didn't catch them all in scope, but I saw enough of what I needed to see.
Okay.
And then like I caught a couple before that, and then I rolled up on this place and I was actually slow rolling the Zell Dangerous swim bait. And I caught one like first cast on this hard spot that I already knew was there.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the next cast, I slow rolled and I watched one come up and and then go whoop, went down. So I made like one more cast with that swim bait. Nothing came up. Now, pre-live scope, if you roll up and you catch a 3.5 pounder on the first, how long are you going to spend throwing that swim bait, right? And I got to see the second cast one totally reject it. I picked up a chicken and caught like 8 in a row.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Like that feedback to be able to make that decision, right? Like that's so. I guess I just want to forget. Tonight's stream is presented by Arsenal Fishing and boosted by Powerhouse Lithium. Don't want to forget that. You can use the codes down in the description for both those, as well as you can get Powerhouse Lithium at Omnia now, which is nice.
As you can, they've been a great partner.
If you've been stockpiling points and you're not sure what you want to do with them, that's not a bad investment.
I have to call this out since you said that too. Powerhouse, we don't know much about lithium batteries at Omnia. I'm just going to be frank about that. We've added a handful due to partners or people that tell us who to trust. Powerhouse is one of the ones I would tell your listeners, since there's a lot of overlap and a lot of the lithium battery talk. Mm-hmm. Powerhouse has been an awesome partner so far. They have been customer service wise, speed. They have been nothing but a great partner for us. So just a little tip out there for any of you that are investigating that big purchase. Powerhouse is to me got a little edge on a lot of our other partners right now, because they just seem to really connect with the consumer really well. So
yeah, it's good to hear. I would agree. So speaking of like not spend too much time on minnows and jig heads, but did you come across the new jig head that Austin Felix supposedly had a hand in?
I didn't touch it personally. I got to see a video on it and some images, and we did add it, and it is coming to Omnia. I loved what he did with it, because Rich, you're aware that I was one of the nerds that was early on the rings hook for the last however many years I can date myself. But I love that idea. I think it should make a difference on paper anyway. Haven't tried it. Haven't fished it, but I do think it's a great idea.
And what was the company of that again?
Tree Shaker. Yep. They are. We already lined them up and got orders in, so they'll be coming to Omni as soon as he ships them. And I would say I'm very happy with the amount of scope jigs that came out that we added. It's plenty. I would tell you, I saw you ask a question online or on Facebook, I believe, or somewhere, but I stay out of those as much as I can, just if I'm biased of what we got a whole bunch of or what I've been playing with recently or what people have been telling me. I will tell your listeners that if you're fishing anything bigger than a 5-inch minnow, which that's a little tip for you out there. I think what gets missed a lot is a lot of the 6 and 7-inch stuff. We're shipping to a lot of tournament anglers. It gets overlooked a lot. I've caught a lot of 2.5-pound bass on a 7-inch minnow, which looks huge, but it's chicken size. You know what I mean? It's not anything crazy, but will up your size. Look at that horizon head in the LG from Gamakatsu. It's got an EWG hook in it. I have one on.
I've got one right here, Pete.
Yeah, there you go. I got one on a spinner rod I'm just rigging up to go up north with, but it's a big EWG style hook and that nano alpha coated hook in it. That hook, that jig head right now is the clubhouse leader by a long shot if you're fishing an oversized minnow. So if you're somebody that's going to try and fish offshore or even up to some cover and fish bigger minnows and give a bigger presentation, really take a hard look at that. That jig head is in a league of its own when it comes to big minnows. Now, when you get to that 4, 5-inch and below minnows, now you can start saying whose is rolling more, whose is doing this, that, and the other thing. But the hook size then starts playing a different game. I've fished with a few different good jigs with the smaller minnows, but when it comes to the big stuff, I'm a big giant proponent of that horizon head in the LG. And a tip, obviously you guys get Rich's code. I would, if you're into this game and you're new to it, or you're going to try some of the bigger minnows, I would go get some of those. I'm just giving you a little heads up on that. Yes, they are coming into the U.S. market. Yes, they are going to be in the domestic market here with a lot of retailers, but that jig head has flown under the radar for a long time, and it's about to not be flying under the radar. It's going to be one of those heads that gets hard to get soon. So I would recommend taking advantage of your HellaBass codes and jumping on that.
Which reminder, tonight is the last night for the code on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, there you go.
You can watch the video descriptions tomorrow for those that have already used their July code. But if you haven't, you can still get an order in and then save the code for August. So that's down below. But thanks for the segue, Pete.
Yeah. No, I'm being serious about that very much so, because I know it's going to happen. Everybody's going to say, how do you not have horizon heads in that LG? And we've had them for over a year. We've had them for a long time. Man, we haven't been able to get them in the volume we need to really promote it. And when we got them finally in the volume they've been promoted, that's right when all the other jig heads came out. And a lot of people don't understand that most of the jig heads that are out in the U.S. market right now are 4, 5, and 4-inch minnows and 3-inch minnows and stuff like that.
Or 3 and 4-inch minnows, yeah.
They're not for what a lot of people are fishing and
especially for largemouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
if you're
a lot of people are throwing 5+ inch minnows for largemouth, where they got these bigger threadfin shad, gizzard shads, things like that, for sure.
Exactly. And if you're going to fish over a brush pile down south, I mean, obviously we're in Minnesota, we don't do that a lot, but over some trees or whatever, and you want to actually run some 12-pound tests or 15-pound tests and a stiffer spinning rod, or even on a bait caster, and get them out of there and pull on them at all, you're not going to do that with any of the jig heads out other than the one we just showed you. So
it's a good nugget. So what do you think, I guess rod and reel wise, is there anything that caught your eye?
Yeah, I was very I'm biased, as you know, from my past. I haven't seen anybody outside of the 2 Japanese manufacturers do anything in the braking side of systems, like for bait casters, that I find innovative or like really difference making. And that's obviously a big feature of the 2 biggest selling families of reels on the market right now, which is still the Corrado DC and the Daiwa Tatula SV. They have unique braking systems, and Lew's came out with 2 reels, they're custom and custom pro, that have a very similar braking profile to the Daiwa, and to one of them being closer to the SV style reel. And they work. I've played with them. I've casted them. I've had them for a while. So that was very impressive. So to see a third player kind of get in with a effective braking profile, in my opinion. Now, if you're one of those people that backs your brakes all the way off and loosens your spool tension all the way up, none of any of what I'm talking about matters to you. I get it. I'm not one of those people. I need a little bit of help at times, not all the time, but I do need a little bit of help with some hard stuff at times. So that was really impressive. Shimano did upgrade the Vanford quite a bit, in my opinion. I've gotten a lot of crap from my friends that are all Shimano buddies. There it is. Yeah. Kipp's got the new Vanford in hand. The new Vanford is much, in my opinion. I was a pisshead about the old one. I'll just be honest. I thought when people would try and tell me it was as good as a Tatula LT or a Ballistic, I honestly think they were just being fanboys of another brand. I don't think they were close, to be honest with you. This reel is more in line with their Stratic that everybody loves. And I think it's a very, very big move for them in that price point. I think the reel's very impressive. It's smooth. It feels great. It feels much more Shimano-esque, in my opinion, than the previous generation. So that was impressive. Rod-wise, trying to think, New Poison Adrena is pretty killer. I am a big fan of a lot of the stuff that Daiwa did in rods as well. But, I think me and you were talking about this earlier today, Rich, but I didn't get to see much from the GSM side of the world. I'm going to be involved in some of that here in the coming weeks. But pretty quiet from the smaller guys. Not that Dobbins is small or Phoenix is small by any means, but your big major manufacturers had some good rollouts. But I will be, thanks for saying that, buddy. I'll be bending a lot of these rods that came out soon. I will say this, back to the topic, and I'm sorry, but we're talking ICAST, and it's what I had to talk about at ICAST all the time. I am impressed to see the difference people have in opinions of what a scoping rod is, whether it's a 7.5 foot rod or it's a 6'3" little shaken rod, right, whatever it is. And we don't know what to do yet with scoping. So to see the manufacturers adjust to that, I will say, having been in Japan earlier this year, they're the masters of it. They're a little bit ahead of us as far as the technique goes. And their short stuff does make a lot of sense. And having tried them now, I'm starting to lean towards the Japanese might have a better idea than us with this shorter rod thing. Usually in the US, we just add 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 inches on all the rods that they send us for a certain technique. I think we are going to find ourselves fishing with a lot of maybe 6/8s to 6/10s and stuff like that in the States, but maybe not as short as they are with 6/3s and stuff like that. But I tell you what, it does make a huge difference if you're doing it all day long, and in the accuracy and the pitching and the shaking and the shutting off the rod tip really fast and having a little backbone there with a really light tip. It is cool with a lighter rod. I will say it will make a difference.
One family that's
go ahead, Kipp.
No, one family that's probably going to fly under the radar, Pete, but you were just basically describing it. The new St. Croix Physics forward-facing sonar rods. I think the longest one is 6'10", or no, sorry, 6. And then they've got 2 6'3s. Those are badass rods for pinging a minnow. They're a little heavier because they're rear weighted, a lot like the Dobbins rods, but they feel like nothing in your hand.
Yeah, that rod wise, seeing like cash and go really long, which makes sense, right? If you're one of those people with crappie brakes on your boat, which I'm sure you've seen those, Rich, the power pole or the trolling motors in your power poles, and you want to cast 100 feet to every fish, yeah, why not have a longer rod? But when you do it all day, it is nice with that shorter rod. I will tell you that. No.
Yeah, I pretty much did all my minnow stuff in St. Clair with a 7-footer, but
a lot of people do that.
Yeah. I'm by no means an expert, and it seemed easy in practice. And once the fish got pressured, then I learned there was a lot more to it than.
Yeah, that sounds like you. Yeah.
Day 2 and day 3 of the 5-day practice, like this is easy. They just come up and eat your minnow, and then like by the second day of the tournament, I was like, I can't get these fish to eat this minnow for the life of me.
Yeah. Same experience for me. When I got into it, I was fishing some southern Minnesota and northern Iowa and even northern Missouri unpressured fisheries, and I thought I was Koyo Fujita. And then I did it on Minnetonka and all the lakes around the metro here, and I don't think I've caught 3 bass in one day doing it. I've completely gone 180 in my confidence level with it, but I will touch on this one. I forgot to mention that there's a new scope and minnow called the Last Ace. We do have a decent amount of them right now. I will say when I was in Japan, these ones are more popular than the Sakamata in Japan. I don't think they're going to be in high volume in the States, so I wouldn't bet your whole tournament life on them. But I would say if you're looking to try something else in that scoping minnow world, these things they roll like crazy. They have, in my opinion, they have the best action next to the Sakamata or with the Sakamata, and they have some real fish catchy colors in them. So I would say definitely look at those if you're looking to practice your ping and practice your ping and minnow technique.
Yeah, I heard a little steam. I haven't bought them yet. I went heavy on the Sakamatas instead.
Yeah, it was smart. The Sakamatas are still the deal right now. But I think this is going to be next. I do. Right now, if you were to make me a betting man, I'd say the next hot one's going to be these. If we see something happen, tournament wise.
Like, sure. Yeah, I'm definitely one of those guys that added a couple spinning rods before I went to St. Clair this year. Yeah. I finally bought the Tatula MQ.
Yep.
And I would say that's probably my new favorite spinning reel now.
Yeah, the Dragon was really nice. Yeah, they did a good job with that reel. Yeah, other than that, reel wise, the big two, there's a saltwater reel out of Iowa called the Soul MQ. If you're into bougie stuff, you got to check that. I had zero interest in it till I got there and picked it up, and I was like, oh, the thing's super nice. That's a really cool reel. I think that'll be a cool reel for a lot of people. Like I said, Lou's really impressed me. I didn't see anything this year other than some of the newer Fenwick stuff that I saw from Pure Fishing. I actually got to fish with some of it, and it's a way, way nicer than I thought it was going to be. Like a lot of manufacturers, they hired some former Loomis people. So if you're a big Loomis fan, I would definitely take a look at some of that new Fenwick stuff. That's pretty interesting. Yep. Other than that, reel-wise, I can't really think of too much that I saw that was none of the computer programmed reels blew my mind. They didn't do what I thought they were going to do. So
Daiwa updated the 2 Tatula SVs too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep. Those are pretty sweet. We've got a couple of them here, but the 150s, this guy here comes with a 100 mil handle on it, all aluminum frame. It's basically the same platform as the old Tatula SV, but a little bit beefed up. Pete, you probably know more about it, but a little bit deeper spool and a bigger handle. And the 100, it's got the SV boost spool like in the Zillion. I think that's probably going to be the old Tatula SV was probably our best selling reel. That one's going to be no different, I think.
Yeah, I think the 100 is going to take a little time for people to understand what it is, but it's basically more of a working man's Zillion. So it's got that hyperdrive gearing, so it's much smoother than the old Tatula as far as gearing feel, and a little bit more rigid, and the frame's more rigid in the new one. So, and then you get that boost spool. So anybody who would complain about casting a lot further with the SV technology, that's what Corrado DC always had over Tatula in leaps and bounds, was distance, right? If you were throwing a big trap in Florida or wherever, even up here, or a chicken, you're going to outcast the Tatula SV with that Corrado DC quite a bit. With that boost spool, now you got to fight. Now you got that SV heavy duty braking, but you can shut it off with that boost spool.
So. Yeah, and I am starting some questions that I'll circle back on. So
yeah, shoot them our way if you get them.
I'm just saying, people in the chat, I'll circle back on some of these. So notice there's been some sales on the coastal.
Yeah.
Are we getting an upgrade to the coastal, and what's that going to be?
I did hear that they added hyperdrive to it. It sadly it's not all blue anymore. It's a sturdier frame, but it's just got a blue handle. It's more like it's darker color than the Tatula. It's like a dark gray or a
Sure.
gunmetal color with a blue 100mm handle. But from what I hear, the frame's sturdier. So good call on the coastal, guys. That's people that are paying attention there. If you're into frogging or big line or anything where you're putting a ton of pressure on a reel, that reel tends to do a little better than most of our freshwater offerings from everybody.
So here's a question.
Yep.
So I really like my coastal
Yeah.
as my primary frog reel on my Champion XP, but I have another frog rod which is an HP.
Yeah.
And I just cannot bring myself to putting a blue reel on a Champion
100%,
Extreme.
100%.
I mean, it just.
I
So
would think
what reel would you recommend for frogging that looks good with an HP?
Oh, good call.
So let's say I know you got a 743, 740, 745. So let's say you have a 746, Pete, and you were going to pair that up for frogging. What reel would you put on
it? I'm killing myself doing this right now, but I've got they were a gift from some of my friends at Lose. I got the SPs, the custom SPs, I believe they're called. The skipping pitches, they don't hold enough line.
Yeah, I want something that holds similar amount of line to the 150 size coastal. I want because this is my long distance frog rod, so this is not a tactical skipping frog. This is a throw it over.
That's where I was going to go with it. I was going to say because I got 3 of them on there, and it looks sexy as all hell. By the way, a little orange hits on it, and people are going to be talking about it when I get up north next week or this week. But I would say, honestly, thank you very much, Swim School. There's a new offering from Lose, so I would hang on and wait. But there's a new offering from Lose that is an orangish, goldish hit reel that's called the Custom Pro. That is going. We were throwing it outside. The warehouse guys will back me up there at Omnia. They got that throw it the most. It will not knock 50-pound braid. And I mean, and it doesn't have a tiny spool. This is a straight up air mailer. And it's small and it palms great. It's similar shaped, a little smaller than the old Hyper Mag. I would say other than that, you're going to have to go with something like the new black offering in the Metanium. But that now you're looking at a $500 reel to go with your $400 rod.
I'm looking more in the $200 to $250.
That's where, if you're going to say that, I honestly will tell you, I think you should try that. That new Lose is an air.
Is the new Lose going to be out before August 16th?
No, it's not. You're not going to test
it. So I'm going to probably end up getting a Daiwa of some kind because I got to have that reel needs to be on my rod when I go up to Leech.
All right. Well, I would tell you then because of the 100mm handle and the bigger knobs, I would look at maybe just that Lose Custom. I like the Daiwa reels. Obviously, I'm biased towards them a lot, but if we're talking about how it's going to look, and I'm into really small frames. I really like the little 80s from Daiwa and stuff. That Tatula 80 might be a good call for you too. Just put a 100mm handle on it.
Actually, so last year because there was around Black Friday, Christmas, there was some pretty good deals to be had on Lose. You guys had some. Others had some as well. And I got I forget which ones I got. I bought 2 of them. I've actually been pretty impressed with them. I've always been pretty much evenly split between Shimano and Daiwa. And I got one of them was I'm really bad about that. Like a Hyper Mag. I got a Hyper Mag.
Yeah.
And then maybe just a Speed School or I don't know.
Speed School, LFS, whatever.
Yeah, but the lower priced one.
Yep.
I've been throwing like square bills on, throws light crankbaits really nice, and then I put the Hyper Mag on like a 744. It's been pretty nice.
I will say, this is an old school, opinion. My opinions are evolving as I fish with more stuff other than just Daiwa and Shimano, as you pointed out. The Lew's stuff, casting wise, has impressed me immensely, and I love the frame shapes and the smaller frames that they do in a lot of their families. To date, a lot of the feedback I get from my friends and people in the industry that I trust is you're not going to get the longevity you get out of a Daiwa or Shimano, but if you can buy them at a good price or whatever. But I have seen recently with some of the stuff I've tried, I've had really good luck with a lot of it holding up as well. I did a whole season last year on a few of the reels, and I'm taking them up north tomorrow. So there's being open-minded is always a good thing. Try stuff and you'll be surprised. What's the price?
Aaron else know that new Lew's that you're talking about. What's
that one? The one I'm talking about, the gold colored one, it's like an orangish gold. It's kind of like the hits on the Champion HP. That reel is $229, I believe. Might even be $239.
It's not bad.
And then there's a version that doesn't have as refined a break that I really liked as well. That's going to be $170.
Oh, who needs a break for a frog?
No. I'm going to tell you right now. I asked Lew's for 2 of the black one, the lower price point one, because exactly what you just said. I just had big braid on it, and I was airmailing it as far as I wanted to throw it. And there's very few reels I bought from the factory that it's all about. Your thumb is not to stop it from backlashing; it's to stop it from throwing all the line off it. I've only had a handful of reels like that in my life that were like that. And a couple of them were ones I tricked out to do that. So I would say the custom and the custom pro, the new Lew's reels are definitely worth checking out if you want to throw stuff far.
All right, let's get into a few questions here.
Yeah.
Little Rich wants to know LureNet, Tackle Warehouse, exclusive colors, runs, baits. Are we going to see anything with anybody Omnia exclusives?
Yeah. They're thank you for the question. And yes, we've been approached about it the last year or two. We do the volumes now to justify it. We are going to be doing some stuff with a few of your favorite manufacturers, I'm sure, out there, guys. But it's not going to be this year. It'll be next year before you see any of the custom color stuff. We're going to
see it rolling out like February 2025, like spring.
You got it.
Coming into the classic, that kind of stuff.
You got it. Yep. We'll do some custom colors and stuff like that, and some popular stuff. Seth will have some stuff through us that'll be exclusive through him, through some of his partners. So you guys can all do your math on who some of those people are and some of that stuff. But it's tough for us because we run pretty tight inventories, and I know that's a big beef a lot of you have had with us for good reason. It frustrates me at times too, but it's for a reason. We're scaling the business and we're trying to grow so we can be.
Jacob has an allowance.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing this now. And for a lot of you that think like, oh, they didn't buy much, they sold out. I'm going to tell you, whether it's some of those special stuff, we're buying stuff in the hundreds, and I'm going to be honest, in thousands now that we're burning through. So it's painful. It's hard for me too. And I could make it much easier if I had tons of budget, but we're still doing things measured as we go. So,
right.
Well, I'm
getting
kayak stuff. Yes. Hard part about that is we've avoided because of the fact.
I assume that means like accessories and things you like, because like you got catch boards.
Yeah, we got catch boards, and we get a lot of kayak customers. And honestly, every time I pull in like a big kayak angler, they tell us don't go into kayak specific stuff for tackle or rods and reels as far as consumables like baits and stuff. They say like the hardcores don't want to do that. They want to stick with traditional tackle stuff that there's no difference. But to service the actual kayak and the equipment for the kayak, yes. We've looked for drop ship partners for kayaks. We can't ship kayaks out of Omnia. So we have to find a different partner for that. But accessories for kayaks and all that, absolutely. We are going to be full service kayak help all the kayak anglers, all that stuff eventually at some point. It's not coming this summer, I promise you that, but it is something within the work for yak attack stuff. Absolutely. You'll see it possibly this fall, maybe this winter, but for sure by next spring or summer.
Just a request. Daniel says he wants regular black and blue Kitech fast swing impacts.
All right, that's a Jacob note. Take that note down.
Kip, send that to Jacob.
I'm on
it. How do y'all decide who gets a note in their shipments? Are you guys still doing notes?
Yeah, they do when they're not getting crushed. Lately,
slow times.
Yeah. If we get to the point where those guys can wrap up orders, we know that the order amounts for the day, they'll sit there and kick them out. But that's a great question. We want to get back to doing that all the time. It's a matter right now of supply and demand. Like that, if we have,
so is it more important to get your package out before the UPS guy leaves, or to have a note?
To your point, Rich, we have, and I will admit it because we talk about it openly at work a lot. We have missed 3 times not shipping by 1 o'clock by our guaranteed day. We've gotten close several times and not hitting that 1 o'clock where I'm back there, our CEO's back there, everybody's back there. And that's happening a little bit more and more. So, well, thank you very much, Trevor, for saying that. But yes, we love the kayakers too. You guys have taken care of us big time. But yeah, it's all a matter of, can we get the orders out fast enough? So I think Fighter should leave a SIG butt in your Omnia package. Well, he can do that for you, I promise.
You might have enough of them. Yeah.
So AJ wants to know, how many clear rock collars would you need to sell in a year to justify stocking them?
Not as many as you think. I'll be honest with you. That's a really good. Is that Horseshoe Tackle saying that?
He's a custom painter, and he's a big Omnia. So,
well, thank you, Horseshoe Tackle. That is just a me thing. That's my fault. We have. I don't know how far I can go into this. We have some interested parties in Omnia, if that makes sense to any of you, some investors, some people in the circle of Omnia who we are, that do a lot of lure manufacturing and a lot of that side of the thing of customization and lure stuff. So it's always been a project of ours that's going to come on a larger level to do lure customization and lure building and lure. I want you to understand, if you look at who supplies that stuff right now, they have massive catalogs and they have like a whole network of all that. We are trying to find a new digital, better way to kind of assort all that and do it on a large scale. That is something that the only reason why we don't have them, because I've seen them and I've been asked for them, is because we plan on doing kind of a whole like part of our site and our whole thing being about, hey, build your own tackle, make your own tackle, here's all this stuff. So that's a Pete problem, so blame me for that one.
I think you could, if you want to just dip your toe in, you could probably put AJ down for a dozen a month.
Well, if he's going to do that, then I promise you I can get him for you. I should, Adam. I should. Honestly, I get enough crap for not doing it that I should have by now.
He specifically specializes in rock crawler patterns. Well, so he's
I need to know you anyway, because there's a couple I'd like done. So Rich,
I'll send you some pictures of some wiggle words he did for me.
Oh, feel free to connect us, Rich. I will hook our buddy Horseshoe up.
All right. Aaron wants to see the X-Zone 2.75 inch Ngobi punch in stock.
I think it's there now.
Is it?
It might be on the dock now. X-Zone just showed up, but I didn't see it get put away. So we've had big shipments from X-Zone kind of rolling in lately, so we should be there on that. That's if it's not there anytime soon, it's not an us thing, it's a them thing, and I doubt it. I bet you it'd be us that missed on it.
Yeah, they're right there. Come on.
Yeah, they're in stock, bud. I was gonna say, I know they've been coming in, so yeah.
They're right there. What are you complaining about, Aaron?
I get that a lot, trust me, and I understand. I do the same thing. I go bitch.
Here's the thing: when something goes out of stock, you need to go in. These are all in stock now, but when you find something that's not in stock, here's a pro tip for you, Aaron. Let's find something that we know is probably things that are commonly
go to pad. Oh no, we just got striking. Oh, that might not get to put away yet, but
so here's a rearrange.
Yep.
When you're signed in, you say email me, and then you subscribe, and then when they come in, you get an email notification to beat your buddies, and you get them.
Yep. Very true.
If you're pro, you get that email notification 4 hours before everybody else too.
There you go. Does Omnia offer bulk packs of Yamamoto?
We did take part in they do it once a year. They offer it up to the dealer base once a year. That's tough for an e-com dealer like us. I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed for our bin sizes and the volume we'll push through. Like I can do all those bulk packs probably in a day that they'll even secure us. So the question is do we want to build the pages and have Joe go through everything and have the warehouse guys put bins to it, put them all away, and then we sell them out in a day? And then all you say, where are they? That's why a lot of the JDM stuff that we don't offer, why a lot of I'm friends with all the JDM shops. I too shop at the Hookup Tackle and all the other JDM shops and the boys here in town. What's Waypoint? Some of that stuff I can't buy enough of that it makes any. I'll get 12.
Right, you're not. You can't.
You guys will just chew us out every day, and I'll never have them.
Of 6 different colors, and you're only going to sell 36 baits all season, and then not restock. Right.
So that's why the bulk packs have not been there. I love that question because I want bulk packs. I get asked for them all the time, but they only offer it to the dealer base once a year. So if I could get enough of them, then yes, we'll start doing that. But as of right now, I think Jacob did buy some this year. So you might see them coming in the fall, but it'll be one of those things where they're kind of come and go.
David said, what hook on the last days? Is that would you recommend the Horizon head?
So here's that. It's a great question. That bait's in the 5-inch class. It will work with just about any of the scope and heads out there you like, but I'll show you here.
But you probably want at least a 2-aught.
Yes. Here's a Horizon head with a 3-aught. And I'm going to be honest with you, just being the bass head I am, that's not that far back, guys. That's a big hook. I get it, but sorry, I'll get it there at some point. That's a 3-aught Horizon head and 3.5 gram. So I would run the Horizon head in that one. If the hook's fine enough wire that you can run it on light line and everything. I've had such good luck hooking them with this thing. That's what I would do. I would throw that would be the bait size. That's the smallest size I would run with the Horizon head. Then after I'd go smaller than that, I would go to round bend regular hooks after that. Well, thank you very much. I will say this to the TW guys. I can understand. They had a lot of. I know those guys pretty well. They've had their issues with shipping, and it's suppliers. Their big problem was getting stuff put away for a while, but not suppliers, shippers. They've had some issues there during the COVID times and having 2 facilities and all that stuff. And I just hope you all remember that, or I remember that, if Omnia ever opens up an Omnia 2.0 in the South or something like that, we go through those issues. So I respect those guys a lot, but I also respect you guys for giving us your business and giving us a shot, because our warehouse guys work their ass off to hit those numbers and to ship that fast. So I always appreciate people shouting that out, because those dudes are the unsung heroes of Omnia. So
for sure.
Yeah, they were definitely hit hard. Like the regulations for COVID in California were much stricter for much longer. So like they literally couldn't have like most of it. They just got hamstrung, and then they were behind. I mean, so they had an uphill battle, and
they did. And honestly, the shippers, even there, UPS and FedEx were laying, didn't have enough people and all that. And I can relate to that. I get buddies and people that'll hit me up and be like, my package took, Brandon Polnick gave me crap because his package took 3-4 days to get to Idaho. And I'm like, buddy, once we shipped it in an hour. Like I looked at the thing, like Omnia did its part, but once it gets out of our building, it's tough to really say how it goes. And I'm sorry, but we're not at our Amazon status yet where we can get Kipp a truck and get them out there delivering your packages.
We did.
I have not heard.
We did do that for a little bit. There was a time where we weren't getting any USPS, drivers stopping by for like a couple weeks, and we would just load up everyone's trucks and drive them down to USPS.
We did that a lot.
In St. Louis Park are like, oh, here they are again.
They hated us. Trust me. They hated us.
Nice. Oh, dun, dun, dun. This is interesting. So the app reels, we kind of touched on that. I think
those app link reels are a real player. Okay.
He said not really a player.
Oh, not. Thank you. All right.
So I think where it could, and I think as a personal use, it doesn't have much. If we could have that tech, I think if you could apply that type of tech to just an average, right? Could you just put a dongle? Could I put a little, like basically put a wearable watch on my reel or on my wrist? I think there is something there for like the top level tournaments, right? Like who doesn't love all the stats and information in professional sports, right? Like I think that could help legitimize bass fishing. And like if you like could really break down and say that Drew Gill makes 23% more casts, or maybe less casts, maybe he actually spends less time. His cast to fish ratio is 1.3 where the next closest guy is 2.8. I mean, like I think from that standpoint, but I think it would be more of a wearable tech and something that's more generically applied to the angler or the rod and reel versus like specifically tied to a brand or model. I don't think there's that much interest for your average person, whether they're fishing in a boat or a kayak or a pond, to say, I made 73 casts today and I don't know, like I reeled in 200 miles of line. I think it would be more interesting at a grand scale to like be able to watch and be part of the sporting event.
Yeah. I will say, there's stuff in Japan. I've known about it. I've got to look at it. I have not got to fish with them, so don't hold me to that if that stuff works. But they have some stuff where like you can program the line diameter of line you have on, the amount of line, the weight, lure weight, all that stuff. Where if you are like, we're different in the States, but in parts of the world where you have one really fancy rod and reel and you fish from shore in a few spots and you really do want to like maximize everything you got and do some crazy stuff with it, I totally get what there's a place for it. The stuff that's in the States right now that just tells you like your retrieve rate and things like that, I can't do anything much with that information. But to Rich's point, maybe someday on a tournament organization could say, I would have loved to know how actual fast Kevin Van Dam reeled in all his baits all the time. You know what I mean?
Or like back in the day when the true ledge battles, to know that like whatever KVD was making 482 casts a day and the next closest guy was at like 330 or something. I don't know, like, or like his average casting distance with a 6XD was 73 yards and the next guy was like 61, or I don't know, like that kind of stuff would have been pretty cool.
It would have been. But I'm with you, Bud, whoever made that comment. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name on that came through. But the app-based reels have not blown my mind either. I've fished with them, I've thrown them. The ones that are in the States that are available here, and they haven't done anything for me to go push it on you guys and say like, hey, guess what? Check this thing out.
Yeah. I guess specifically asking about the new Berkeley braid,
the forward braid.
But like, what about? I mean, there's a lot of people marketing, I guess, either spinning rod braid or front-facing sonar braid, which I'm kind of over the whole like front-facing rod, front-facing reel, front-facing like.
It ain't gonna stop, bud. You got another year.
Yeah, but do you think there's anything to these specialized braids, or is there any reason I need to stop using 832?
Okay, that's been a great question for years now. Is there any reason to stop using 832? I will say this: so the highest end. So in Japan, it's like batteries, right? In Japan, all the line manufacturers actually work together. in the States, we see them very separate as branded stuff, but they all manufacture different things and they work together. The highest end braid factory in Japan is called YGK. And they make some sinking braid that we played with that really did do some incredible stuff. We had one of our 4 testers at Omnia have some wind knot stuff, but we've deemed it as user error, so let's all pick on him together. All the rest of us didn't have the issues. I will say the sinking stuff, I was just at the Spro Writers Conference. It was probably a month ago now. I can't remember when it was. And almost all the anglers there, didn't matter what manufacturers they were with or whatever, had pink line on. That's that All Might stuff from Sunline, that's sinking braid. From what I hear, when you're scoping and your line gets more direct in line with your bait, it doesn't bow out and over like braid does. It's much easier to feel them hit it because you're not. Let's say you're looking at your scope. There's a little delay there. You don't know you got hit. That the sinking braids are working for that specific reason. Now, to confuse things, the Berkeley braid is not supposed to sink. I don't know what that does to make it forward facing yet. I have seen it in person. I have not fished with it. They just showed it to us. And I said, does it sink? And they said, no. So I said, well, then why is it forward facing? And I don't know why it's forward facing. I will tell you guys when I find out. I know we got to ask for it right away, which is crazy, but we have a sinking braid. We have All Might from Sunline, and we have X braid sinking. The X braid sinking is high-end stuff. It's really nice, and it's worth trying if you're a scoper. If you're not a scoper, I don't see why I'm saying that is I'm not a scoper. I'm trying to be, I'm pretending to be, and I'm going to keep working at it. And maybe someday I'll be a scoper, but I don't know. I didn't notice a damn difference. I don't get it. I will tell you, our scoper kids that are younger than me and better at scoping than me all noticed a difference. And they thought the sinking braid did line up with the bait better, and they could feel the bite first just watching it on scope get smoked. So there you go. That's my opinion on sinking braid.
Chris said he needs some new Swamp Lords to tie on his coastal. So, when's Berkeley going to send you guys some?
That's a Berkeley thing, I promise. That's there. I guarantee they're coming. I just don't know when. I couldn't tell you. I could find out for you, but can't right now. But Swamp Lords have been hot all of a sudden. Remember, I was telling you guys before, I couldn't give you guys Swamp Lords when I did Swamp Lord sales 2 months ago. You know what I mean? And now Swamp Lords and Spro Frogs and all the striking frogs are out of stock. Like everything's just going. And that's what's supposed to happen this time of year, but we didn't see it coming because this spring, even chatterbait sales were down, which is strange.
Well, we might see an interesting live dynamic here in 3 weeks on FS1 on the final day of Leech.
Oh, Leech? Okay, yeah. I think
right?
so. I mean, I'd love to hear your opinion on that because I've had a public opinion, but I don't want to say what it is until you tell me what your opinion is. Why do you think the final day is going to be interesting?
Well, I think there'll be guys in the top 10 that are fishing largemouth. And I think there'll be top 10 guys. Now, do I think the guy's going to win it on largemouth? No. But I think
what about
there'll be a couple guys. What's that?
What about a mixed bag?
Yeah, mixed bag, but I think it still would be. When I say mixed bag, I'm talking like 12 to 13 smallmouth and 2 to 3 largemouth. That's maybe like
all right.
To win. I think you're going to have to be close to 12 plus, if not 15 smallmouth to win.
I will say this.
Now, I think there's going to be a lot of guys that try it.
Yeah.
And fail miserably or catch them one day and completely dust out.
I will say this. I couldn't agree with you more. I think if the top 10's all smallmouth all 3 days, it will open up the eyes to the rest of us in this state. The way the pros did the west side of Lake Minnetonka back in the day when they fished the dirty water, which we didn't believe bass were in, to the hell game. I will tell you, every friend I have has driven around that lake their entire lives to go to other lakes to go smallmouth fishing. Now, have I seen the monster bags? 100%. Do I know that lake's capable of throwing up a 25-pound bag and all that stuff? 100%. I absolutely know it's got giant smallmouth in it, big smallmouth, and it's growing population. I just don't think it has the numbers to sustain 200 something boats for 5 days of practice and then and 3 days of the tournament. I'm excited as hell to see what happens. It's probably the most excited I've been for a tournament in a long time. I wish it was because I thought we were just going to expose this dynamic mega super fishery. I just hope maybe somebody shocks us with some largemouth. To your point, I think there's going to be, my opinion, I think there's going to be a bunch of people in the top 10 with all largemouth.
Yeah. We're talking about Leech, if I didn't make that clear.
Sorry if I didn't.
And I think we might see the biggest spread from 1st to 10th going into the final day all year. Because there might be 2 or 3 guys that literally have caught 10 smallmouth and they're weighing 23 to 25 pounds a day. But the guy that is in like 10th might sneak in with like 37 or something. You know what I mean? Like largemouth.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting. So I think there's a cool dynamic where we might see guys out scoping and literally guys flipping and frogging on, side by side on FS1.
I hope so. And I do love the fishery, and I'm not trying to rip on our home, our lake or whatever. I just think it should be dynamic. It should be a cool tournament to watch from a viewer standpoint.
I agree, Clay. That would be epic.
That would be epic. Yes.
I just needed to catch 24 instead of 14 on day 2 of St. Clair, and we could have made that dream come true. On St. Clair, yeah. Somebody asked, I do not think Champlain will be one on largemouth. Who was asking that? But
I would love it if it was, but it is not going to be.
Now the Bass Nation qualifier was one with largemouth.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the guy that
is it blowing 30 out of the south every day?
He had 62 pounds for 3 days largemouth. And second was actually a mixed bag as well. But I think a couple weeks later, and a different level of anglers, I think it seems like the largemouth, and there was a bunch of 6-pounders and almost a 7-pounder that crossed the stage in that Bass Nation tournament, largemouth. I think we might see some, I don't think it's going to be quite as dominated as it was last year, where literally the top 30 was all smallmouth. What's that?
Would they go to Plattsburgh?
I believe so. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
But
they didn't go on the lake where they went out. Yeah.
They were up north. They definitely weren't down in the lower end. But I think we'll see a little more largemouth just because of the high water this year. But I think it will be one, and the majority of the top 10 will be smallmouth on. And I am setting my fantasy fishing team as though it's going to be smallmouth.
Smallmouth hammers, yeah.
It was pretty. I don't know if you noticed this. The first day of St. Clair, Ish Monroe had almost 24 pounds with almost all largemouth.
Yeah.
But then he had a smaller bag than me on day 2. So,
yeah.
So, but yeah. Let's see here. Let's take a 1-minute break, and then let's come back and talk about why waypoints are such a pain in the butt.
Roger that.
So.
Are you ready to reel in your next home purchase or refinance? Supreme Lending's Dream Team can help guide you through the entire mortgage process, from pre-qualification to closing. We have a wide variety of home loan programs in our tackle box, including down payment assistance and first-time homebuyer options. You can ask HellaBass. He trusted us to help finance his home. Contact the Dream Team today by searching Supreme Lending Dream Team, or click the link below in the description, or scan the QR code on your screen.
Back. Thanks to the Dream Team for that little spot. Our guy Aaron Dagus.
Vegas.
Yeah. So when you win a big tournament this year and you're ready to get a new bigger garage, he can help you out, Pete, when you hit the lottery.
Any garage would be bigger than my garage.
All right. Before we get into this quick, Jorge Tackle wants to know when are we doing more shirts? Are we ever bringing back the buy t-shirts?
It comes up quite regularly. We're spending a lot of money. I'm sure a lot of you have watched on our app. We're doing a lot of stuff in that world right now. But yes, I actually did meet with some suppliers actually at ICAST and talked about doing some more of that stuff. And I actually talked to a couple of our vendors who I think are pretty cool vendors that are just not as big as some of the majors. But like let's just throw it out there, like the Great Lakes Finesses of the world and some of the other small, manufacturers in the up and coming that have asked to partner with us on some of that. So stay tuned. Good question. Hopefully you have some cool apparel options coming to your guys' way for some add-ins in the cart there.
All right. So I do have one more question. Kipp, as somebody that didn't go to ICAST and somebody that obviously was watching closely, what are you most excited about from what you saw from the coverage or that will be landing at Omnia or however you want to spin it?
Tough. There was I think there was a lot
or
of
maybe
really
a couple things. You can give me 2 or 3 things or whatever. Like what's on your hit list, I guess.
a lot of the Great Lakes Finesse stuff I think was really sweet. And I think it's the hover minnow. I mean, Great Lakes Finesse does an awesome job of coming out with like unique, brand new shapes, styles. And then they expanded on a couple sizes. Like the drop minnow was, I think, only a 2 3/4 inch bait, which for me felt a little small to put into my day-to-day use. Now they went up to a 3 1/4, and that's perfect. So I'm definitely going to be stashing up a couple of Great Lakes Finesse stuff.
Yeah, I meant to do like a little reel or a caption on this, but like shout out to Great Lakes Finesse for doing ICAST the way that I would like to see more companies do it.
Where their stuff gets all done.
They shipped it and you guys had it sitting in the warehouse and you flipped the switch so that when I forget what the guy's name who does an awesome job promoting their products and going on and doing the tour and talking about it, the main guy. Dan, So when he did all that stuff and all the videos were coming out, you could go to Omnia and it was all there. Like during ICAST, I ordered it and I had it in my house before ICAST was over. Yeah, Dan Miguel. So like kudos. I wish more companies like that is, I think the biggest frustration with ICAST now is like 10 years ago, right? It was like you went there, you placed your orders, the ads came out in Field and Stream and Bassmaster magazine and the television shows, and you had 6 months to get the stuff out. Now in the day in the internet, I'm surprised more companies haven't figured out that that's just not the way to do it.
It's archaic. And you're 100% right. It still is pushed a lot on the catalog prints from the big boxes. To your exact point, Rich, it was all about like by August, September, we'll be able to send the catalog or have to send the catalog to print with all the new stuff in it. And that means nothing to us in the digital era. So, most companies now are telling us they're going to do off-season launches all the time now, which makes ICAST a little different than what it was in the past. So, I mean, we all push for it. Jacob brought it up and got some flack for it. I've brought it up in meetings. I am now I am an ASA member now, so I'll be going to some of those meetings and voicing my opinion about it. But I still am one of those people that believes that the industry would do best if we made a big deal out of the big things we do have. And that's ICAST should follow the classic and ICAST should be closed to the public, and just for the industry for a couple of days and then open to the entire public. Just pull the new stuff you don't want seen or whatever a night before, get the stuff out of the booth you don't want there or whatever. And it should be a whole week where the whole industry is there. I mean, not to corny up the weigh-in at the classic, but can you imagine if the entire industry was all there, everybody was all in one place, you'd be able to fill up a real, be able to really do some big stuff. So, and that's in March. Let's be honest. That's when the whole fishing world's starting to buzz and blow up. So it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. So that's really the big push for us to see that happen someday. But as of right now, as far as I know, like the next 7 years, it'll be in Orlando in July.
Yeah. All right. So I think we could all agree that like waypoint management has been it takes a lot. Like if you really want to like have your waypoints dialed in and organized and your units not cluttered and all that stuff, it takes, and you can tell that a lot of these pros, the guys that fish for a living, spend a lot of time doing waypoint management. And it's kind of a big ask for guys that have full-time jobs and want to fish on the weekends to do that kind of stuff. So I know this is a bit of a passion project for you, Pete. So maybe I'll just let you kind of kick it off and what kind of the idea behind it and kind of the
Well, thanks for that. It is a bit of a passion. You know, Omnia obviously was concepted around mapping and technology way before it was a retail venture or whatever. From our CEO Matt Johnson started Contour Innovations, which is now like the software, the mapping software that a lot of the stuff Lowrance uses, CMAP and all that, and I knew all along that this was going to be an all-encompassing kind of daily touch from your phone or from your computer, where Omnia wouldn't just be a place to shop. It'd be places for you to, you know, post stuff on your, almost every lake would be its own little website with different shopping features and fishing reports and all that, mapping features, all the stuff that Matt and his team have cooked up throughout the years and new stuff we're working on now. But for me personally, the biggest struggle I've had with my units and the things that I've done is waypoint management. And it's what I struggle with the most. When I fish Denny's, which if any of you are from this area know what that is, but anybody outside of Minnesota that doesn't know, I've had the same partner, Aaron, and we luckily had the same type of units. We both had hummingbirds, but I would literally take pictures of my dots and the latitude, longitude lines and send them to him, and he would physically punch them in. I didn't do any pulling the SD cards out in and out. I did at times, things of that nature. But when I fish with some of my other friends, like Figgy, for example, John Figgy, he's got Lowrance's, or Seth's had different stuff throughout the years at different times. Or a lot of my friends, it's always been this big major issue to slide waypoints back and forth or to share them. And for me, the biggest thing is even for as little as I get to fish, and I feel like, maybe a couple of days a week's a lot for me nowadays, and I'm probably fishing a day a week on average, maybe 2 days a week on average, sometimes 3, 4 if I'm lucky. I'm filling up units I have so much junk on my graph right now that I don't know if it's real, good, bad. What did I have it there for? I think some of you know Seth has borrowed my boat a lot in the past when he's in between boats. So I have like some of the best dots in the world on some lakes. And I don't even know if I made the dot or he made the dot, or if I did go to that lake and make that dot. So I kind of made that a passion project of mine with the tech team at Omnia to say, is there a way that I could pull all my dots off my graph and sort them? So Omnia's system already has shape awareness of every lake. So it would automatically sort all your waypoints by lake. So you could literally search all your waypoints the minute you uploaded them to Omnia by lake immediately. And if you make the waypoint with your Omnia app with Pro, it'll actually save all your weather data. So wind direction, all that stuff, which that to me gets super exciting when we think of the future of this, to say, I want all my west wind dots on Lake Minnetonka or something along those lines. I really wanted a way for us all, no matter what unit you had, to be able to share waypoints back and forth with a friend and sort my waypoints and pull them on and off. For example, now for the first time that I can remember, I have different units on my boat. I have hummingbirds and garments. So I want to be able to pull my dots off and just put the ones I want on a certain graph. It's even time of year. Rich brought this up. I was talking to Rich earlier about this. Great point. My May dots on Lake Minnetonka mean nothing to me the rest of the year. I don't want those on my graph the rest of the year. Can I pull those all off for just the timeline? And so we're going to be having a whole bunch of different icons and colored icons and ways for you to organize your waypoints in the off season if you want, or during the season, whatever is easier for you, and put them back on your graph on however form or fashion you want, with organized by however you want. So I personally think it's going to be the thing that makes Omnia something in everybody's boat at some point in time. It's obviously in its fledgling areas now. Rich has been a good friend and played with it a lot with us already in the early stages, the sharing aspect and all that. And he's had some good input already on icon change, us adding more icons and things of that nature. But I would honestly say of all the things we've come out with as far as the marine side of the business, the tech side of the business for mapping, this is the thing I'm most excited about, because I really do think of, whether it's a tournament angler or even a friend or anything like that, for you to be able to just text message from your phone. If me and you were chatting and I say, I want to send you 2 dots for a rock pile I found when I was in northern Minnesota hole hopping tomorrow and Friday, I could send those right to you, and you could just upload them to your graph. I figured, Aaron, there would be people who would say, why would you share waypoints? Me and Rich were talking about that earlier. Just about all of us do. No one just wants to admit it. But I don't think it's just a tournament angler thing. I definitely think it's going to be a lot of new anglers to the sport that would be able to share information with each other, that are more open to sharing that kind of information, more recreational anglers versus tournament anglers that'll be able to share.
I mean, there's a lot of, like you mentioned it, right? Like, let's say you and Seth are going to go out and shoot some content.
Yeah.
And you're like, Seth, I got this lake that I've been out in my boat.
Yep.
And I got these, like, we'll be on them when we get there so that we can get the content, right? Because like Seth needs, like, I need to take my boat, so when we take the pictures, it's in my boat, right? So that way you can just show up with your phone, or you can text him, right? And then you can be like, right. So I mean, there's lots of reasons outside of
that scenarios happen. That exact scenarios happen. But I mean, even I will say I don't have a problem admitting it. For as little as I get to practice or fish tournaments or anything like that, if I were going to St. Clair next week for a content shoot with Strike King instead of going to northern Minnesota, I would absolutely not feel bad asking you, Rich, could you give me one area? I don't care if it's any of your good dots, but give me an area to get me going so I figure out what I could be looking at or whatever. And if you were able to just text that to me, it makes things so different than you sending me a picture of the lat longitude and me trying to punch it in. So,
yeah. So actually, I mean, that's a good point here, but this is all private to you. You can choose to text or email, like, right. So you can share, and it'll give you a URL that basically will prompt them to open this waypoint in the app. But that's the only way anybody sees it. Like nobody, they don't just go on your ambassador account and see all your waypoints. This isn't like C-Maps where you upload the details, and so this is all, you control the information on that.
Yeah, that's all private. It is, and we understand the quietness. Trust me, off my friends fish for a living, I understand the privacy factor of it and all that. The bigger thing to me is the management of it off the water, when you're just get home and you're playing with it, you're managing it. Now, the sharing aspect, I do love that idea as well, but I honestly think I just look at I have a 10-inch helix at my wheel. I have a much smaller setup than a lot of my tournament angling friends. I have one 10-inch helix at my wheel, and I can't tell you how much junk I've thrown on that thing, terrible dots that I've made that never paid off or whatever. And I think a lot of you know this. If you're not really savvy with them, to Rich's point, for a guy that doesn't use his boat as much as a pro like me, when I get in there and I think I'm feeling safe deleting stuff and moving through stuff, I panic. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, if I saved it right, if I didn't do. I'd feel much safer doing that from my desktop once that stuff was uploaded and be able to dig through it.
Here's actually a good use case. So David says he's going to Maine with the family next week. I've never been to Maine, but maybe somebody on here does. But so there's a couple things, right? Like, you could ask, they could send you some information, which we talked about, but you can also go look at Maine. You're going to be in the center of the state. So maybe I'm not close to where you are. Maybe I am, but like Maine is like Minnesota. There's a bunch of little, right? You could scout these lakes, and this lake looks like it doesn't have a lot of,
have a road
but
going to
it. I don't think there's, this might not be good. I don't see a dock or anything. I don't know much about Maine, but like,
scroll out a little bit, you can see the ones that have a pin on them will have reports and stuff.
An orange one or a green one.
So like Quebec, maybe this is Do they have
Well,
docks? Are they not allowed
go
to
way
have
out
docks? But
again.
like, right? Like, so like I know David, you like to fish docks, right? So you could look at some of these lakes. You
Mhm.
could find cover. You could scout these lakes and go, you know what? Like, you can look for inlets, right? Like,
Yep.
and you could say, hey, I'm actually gonna like create a waypoint, and this is gonna be a place that I want to scout. I want to come check where this water's coming in, right? So like you could put this as a, I don't know, just a marker, and you could say like inlet. And like, so if you showed up at this lake with your phone, right, and you could mark, this looks like a good place where there's docks, there's pads. If you're an offshore fisherman, right, this looks like some emergent vegetation. Like, you could plan out your visit on the computer, on your tablet, on your phone. And I guess the other thing that's cool, which I guess we didn't really talk about. So this is all free, right? You just have to have an account. So like, if I open my Omnia app now and I go to this lake in Maine, that waypoint is on my phone.
Yep.
So like, I don't know how I get to that lake in Maine, but I know I can get to that Minnetonka dot that I just created super fast here.
Yep.
Right? Where is Minnetonka? Shouldn't be that hard to find. Gotta go east a little bit here.
But David, just for your guide question too, while Rich is looking for that.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Todd Alberto. His first name is spelled T-O-D. Todd, no, not double D, just one D. Look him up on Facebook and shoot him a message. He's a guide out in Maine, and if he's not in the area you're in, he's a good guy. He runs all the sports shows in Chicago and New York.
So like, there's that inside weed line waypoint that I created just a few minutes ago, and so like any of those waypoints that I created in Maine would be there. So it's a great opportunity. So like, whether you're like, I think it's a cool research tool to be able to like, I think we all do a fair amount of whether it's Google Earth or Google Maps or looking in different apps, but there's kind of several steps to get those on your graph if you want to do it that way of downloading and converting. In this way, right? If I go and scout something, I can like put some like stuff I want to look at, whether it's deep boulder flats or shallow tributaries, and then I can go look at it in my boat, get close enough with my phone, and then I can scan it and enter it in my graph as well. So like, it's another way to like.
It's a brilliant point, and that's something I want to point out to the listeners too, is to say like, this isn't something that we thought of that like that comes out of left field either. A lot of the pros that we're working with and we've talked to about these processes and what to do are doing this themselves. Now, obviously, we're making this app more for the general public, but where we were learning it from, though, like a lot of the pros are doing a lot of this research, to Rich's point, off the water, and they're not putting these dots in their graph right away. So they go there, they actually verify that it's a good spot or a good area or a productive area. Then they put this dot in their graph. You don't want to clutter it up like this guy has right here with just junk that just doesn't produce, and then you don't know what to get rid of. So,
yeah, I think the other thing, right? So I think,
thanks, Trevor.
Are the colored dots the ones that actually have reports? Is that?
Yeah. Yep, you got it.
So what is the orange versus the green?
I think orange is more active, or green's just got some mapping stuff on it, and people have investigated it or reached out to us about it, maybe have fishing reports, but they might be older or out of season.
Yeah, that's the other thing, David. If you don't, if you just want to look, like if you're going to be near any of these lakes, you can go on this, and like this has 16 reports, and then you can see, are those largemouth, those smallmouth, are they salmon, are they perch? Like, it gives you a good idea of what, so
I just think of this as this grows. I mean, I know for a lot of you that have been along for this ride, like Rich has been along since the beginning, it still feels like it's still like this fledgling thing that's going. We're getting thousands and thousands of fishing reports a week now. Like, this is starting to bubble up to the point where if you get involved and you start getting familiarized with it, it's going to start being a lot more viable for you as a tool that you could use on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, if you're an avid angler. So especially all this waypoint stuff, I'm a huge fan, a proponent of this. It's Rich's point, is a passion project of mine, because I just think for myself, for as much fishing I do outside of my boat, like I'm going to be the rest of this week and next week, I'll be making references with my phone the whole time. So,
and so right now everything is literally free.
Yep.
By just having an account. The only thing that Premium Pro gets you right now is the conditions imported when you created which I do think potentially in the long run, as you create a library, if you're creating waypoints when you have fish catches and if you correctly label them, right, to be able to start aggregating that information to know that this spot was good during a north wind or a certain barometric pressure or things like that, to really start to be able to connect that data, I think in the long run will be a very powerful tool. But this is literally just all you need is an Omnia account, and you can do it on your computer, you can do it on your app, you can go back and forth. It's a pretty good tool, and I think this is just the start of it, from what I understand. So
to your point, Rich, that's very, very. I'm glad you pointed that out. The condition stuff is pro only, and that is because there's going to be a lot of layered in features behind that with the conditions, like editable conditions at some point, which is, to me, that's really big. If I keep catching them on an area every time there's a west wind, but when I made the dot, maybe it wasn't, didn't save the wind because I made it with my graph or something, that I can edit that and know that, hey, this is a great spot at the outside of this channel in a west wind on Lake Minnetonka. And I just know my west wind days. I can look at my west wind dot. You could actually search your dots through those conditions, lunar phases, barometric pressure, all that stuff, and share them that way as well. So just think of the ways you can start really refining the way you use your waypoints. Adding
what if you're just on a sandbar and you got the pontoon parked and you want your buddies to know where you are?
Yep.
You can text them. So like Daniel T is watching this stream from his boat on the water, and he just sent me a link in his Instagram, in my Instagram, to show where he is in this creek arm right now. So
Daniel T, you are a badass.
So I can choose, and so like it gives you the opportunity to just see where it is, and then I can choose whether I want to save this to my account or not.
Yep.
And everything that we've talked about with waypoints so far, like you said, is free other than the weather conditions. But if you want to take like your scouting to a more advanced level and purchase Pro, you can overlay like our different
wind
mapping layers as well. So like on your phone, if you want to have navionics up on your phone and look for specific contours or a hump out in the middle of the lake, that's something you're not going to get if you aren't pro. So if you want to take scouting to another level, pro is definitely a way to take it up a notch.
And then I could edit the waypoint that Daniel shared and put my own notes and information on it.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So Dustin says, greetings from the prison. So he works in a prison.
Okay.
He listens, not logged in. And then when he gets out, he logs in and comments. So how often are sales correlated to fishing reports? He says there's one of his favorite parts of the Omnia app.
Thank you. It's happening more and more organically. Initially, it was a bigger push of ours. We were pushing on it. It was happening a lot. Now it's kind of more organic and it's kind of leveled off, and it just kind of grows with the more activity on the lake. We see it a lot more, as you can imagine, with smallmouth and seasonally. And I think it's just over a lot of our consumer base is comfortable with us and trusts us right now that information's solid and the pictures are solid and all that stuff. But it does work. It does rank stuff up higher, and it is legit. So Kipp used to be the one that had to approve those. He's moved on past that now, but he used to be the one to actually go in, because I guess you guys could bet how many crappy ones come through that are just garbage that we have to throw out. So.
AJ asked, are the earned credits automatically applied to your points?
Yes, they are. So depending on your ambassador level, you'll either be, if you're silver, you're eligible for $5 per if your fishing report converts. If you're gold, you can get $10 back. As soon as someone makes a purchase off of your report, we essentially buy that report for you, and it automatically issues you the credit.
Yeah, it definitely helps to be fishing in places. I mean, if you have a lot of fishing reports on obscure lakes with low population, you're probably not going to generate a lot of traction. But if you have a lot of good reports on Gunnersville and St. Clair and things like that, then you're probably not going to generate as much. But like, I mean, right? I mean, if you're on popular fisheries that have a lot of traction in popular areas, you have but yeah, I mean, if you're posting reports about 10-acre lakes in Northeast Maine, you may not get many conversions.
You're probably right. And I will say this, we are investigating a process. Ricky's been working on it, our guy down in Kentucky. He works for us at Omnia here, about doing contingency with fishing reports, which the way we are doing with we're testing with some tournament trails where it wouldn't matter if we knew your trail or not. If you register a trail with us, you could just post a fishing report after your tournament. And especially if you win, there's contingency there too, not even with a purchase made. But that way we could start loading up a lot of these lakes, all these club tournaments and things go on, where an avid tournament angler could go on there and look and see tournament results and what caught them and all that kind of stuff. If they're quality reports, then we would do contingency prizes for that as well. So
that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess, is there anything else? So I mean, I think I'm excited to kind of test more of this. This Waypoint stuff, using it more for scouting, looking at and integrating that back and forth as a tool from my phone to my graphs to things like that. I've definitely found it as an easy way. I've got some high school anglers. One of my godson is a high school angler for Lakeville. Do I help him out? Do I point him in the right direction? Yes. It's now much easier for me to send him a text to the Omnia link than going out on my phone and taking, I mean, like I could be, in an airport traveling for work, and I can respond to him almost immediately this way, either by having those already in my phone or just like finding them through the Navionics and getting close enough to get them right. Versus I didn't really have a good way other than waiting till I got home until I had time to get in the Camus, fire it up, turn the graphs on, go to the lake, take pictures, right? Like things like that. Or I'd have to go onto Google Maps and like swag it and then like screenshot it and do like some like finger MS paint and like an arrow and like, right. Like, so this, I know people think that, like sharing waypoints, but it's actually something like that, you're trying to help people out, put people in the right direction, put kids on fish. Your dad's going fishing and you're like, hey, I want to see my dad or my uncle catch fish, and like I want to make sure they have a good day and don't spend most of their day looking for fish, right? So you throw them a couple bones and get them right, and they have a good time fishing, and that's really what it's all about, right?
So the big part of that, guys, that we're waiting on announcing when it's viable, when it's a real package thing, is the mass onboard or uploading or offloading of the waypoints. We have that already working with 2 of the graph manufacturers, just waiting on some licensing and some agreements with the third. It's all been approved, but we just haven't gotten through the final steps. There's obviously some proprietary stuff there that we have to work through and make sure it's okay that we do this. Like I said, I'm very confident it's already going through. I played with it with all 3. I've seen it work with all 3 already. But we just got to get it kind of buttoned up and make sure it's okay, and we can do it on a mass level. But that will allow something I think we barely touched on. But if you got a circle of friends or if you're like me now, you're running multiple different units on your boat, it'll allow you to use this waypoint management as a tool for any of the 3 major graph manufacturers. So stay tuned for that information when you're able to offload all that stuff pretty easily with any of the graph manufacturers.
Touching on that too, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but we have unlimited waypoint storage in the app. So like if you want to use it just as a backup for your waypoints, if you want to pull them all off your graph, and then say you've got a trip up to Vermilion or something, and just take the waypoints from Vermilion and put them back into your unit. Once we have that live, I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Right. Just to have another point, right? Because I think we've all got You guys ever lost one of these things?
Oh yeah, I have.
Right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
or you're like zip files on your computer and then you lose your computer, it gets stolen, it crashes. Like, so just knowing that you've got another place with your stuff backed up in a cloud environment is good to know. Right.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, I'm excited to dig in and just, always looking for ways to leverage tech and be more efficient on the water. And like I said, I've dabbled with like Google Earth and bringing that into my hummingbird units for certain tournaments, and it's a pain. So it's like it's got to be the right tournament, and I got to have the right amount of time to like put in that effort
Yeah.
to be able to do some of the stuff more seamlessly on kind of the quick and easy. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then when the full integration, be able to do like, waypoint cleanup and management and dialing it in so that when you show up at a place, 10 years later, you actually know what you did and things like that. So so your passion is not lost on me, Pete.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that because I as much as I am digging the clarity layers and the temperature layers and all that stuff, I tease the guys at work all the time, the tech guys that are working on this stuff, that like if I can go fishing Wednesday, I go no matter what the conditions are. It's just I just know Wednesday I'm going. I mean, eating a shit sandwich if it's raining and thunder or whatever it is, I'm just gonna go fishing. But I will tell you, if I get time to practice ahead of time, it would be nice to know or do homework ahead of time or network with people or do anything like that. That's where I've always struggled. So I'm looking forward to having this stuff as a tool. And I've already been lucky enough to play with it a bunch. So that's why I'm kind of jacked up about it. Because I think everybody's going to like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, what are we like right at an hour and 40? So I'll get to kind of a last call for questions. If you guys, I know like Omnia does like, streams, but I feel like a lot of times you guys are busy. So you get to a few questions. So like, this is your time to like, go ham on the questions, and we're taking a close look at them. So we'll give a few minutes here. I don't know. You guys got any exciting trips coming up?
Us guys?
Yeah. Any fishing? Like what's exciting about end of summer here for you guys, fishing wise?
I mean, other than the fact that I'm going up north tomorrow and then I'm going to South Carolina on Monday, I am going to do some fishing there, but I am going to go out west again. My goal for a while has been to get up to the Pacific Northwest. So I got a couple of vendors that are trying to line something up to go up there and do that. But fishing trip wise, me and Seth got 2 trips canceled on us this year. Usually me and him take at least one big smallmouth trip a year or something. And both times this year we got 30-mile-an-hour south winds that would have killed us. So we didn't go. So I'm looking forward to probably doing a Rainy Lake fall trip again this year. And then as far as down south goes, nothing on the books right now, but I'm hoping to change that.
You might be able to hang a minnow up in Vermilion or Rainy. That's like where minnow hanging kind of started.
You got it. And it was different. You're right, because I even did it. Gussie taught me how to do it by just hitting the bottom and reeling up 3 times. But it's now we got the graph. Yeah. Is up north to you Canada? No, I've got a good 5 hours straight up from where we are right here before we hit Canada, but 3 hours is up north for me, and that's where I'm going. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the app doesn't necessarily like at this point doesn't give you like trails, but you can go to your current location. Right?
You can go to current location, but yeah, we are not allowed to currently.
Right. So like if you hit this, there's like a waypoint, like create waypoint is the orange one, the one above it. Not to dox myself, but that's where I live. So, so yeah, you can go to your current location and see your cursor on the screen in relation to any waypoints that you've created.
Yeah, we are not allowed to answer your question. I don't know if that's where you're going with it, Jim. Thanks for all the support, by the way, Jim. We're not allowed to do navigation yet, so there's no that's not any of the features we're building right now are not yet designed for you to use your phone and get in the boat and start blind driving staring at the phone. So don't do it with the app yet. That stuff is possibilities down the road, but currently in its current form, it's just designed to know where you are. Yes.
Right. But I think as like an bank angler, kayak angler, ice fisherman, like this does most everything you need from a GPS standpoint at that, like,
Agreed.
right? Like,
yep. Yeah, I think it's going to do a little bit more for you even than a lot of what's out there right now. So
right. And it's, how much does it cost again?
well,
It's free.
It's free.
That's right. It's free.
Yep. It's free. I do encourage you to upgrade to pro because
yeah, no, there is a lot of advantages for, I guess, people that don't know, right? I
with
guess we
the
haven't talked about
10%
that.
back alone and the free shipping. I mean, I will promise you I'll pay for it back for you within a month or two if you're a fishing angler or if you buy fishing equipment. But yeah, and there's going to be more pro features coming. But thank you very much, Trevor.
Yeah.
It is worth it.
I think,
but if you just want to try it out, if you just want to, don't take our words for it, just play with it yourself. Yes, it is absolutely free. Go monkey.
yeah, I mean, like, if you want to just like go check it out, if you want to send somebody a dot, if you want somebody to send you a dot, that's all free.
Yep.
And doing that kind of stuff. But if, I do, I mean, like the premium and the premium pro, if you're into scouting, be able to look at those layers, if it saves you a couple gallons of gas on driving around the lake or driving to a lake, like, gas ain't cheap. You don't need to save many gallons of gas by doing some online scouting using the layers and the vegetation and the hardness maps and that kind of stuff. And then combine that with a little bit of free shipping here and there, and the points back. It's pretty worth it for sure.
And I don't know if any of you have caught it either yet too, but some of you I'm sure have. I know Rich has. We've done some pro pricing stuff on some deals that we've been getting, and we're going to be doing. Trust me, a lot of my ICAST. You guys heard us mention it earlier. A lot of my digging around at ICAST after I've seen all the new stuff is ways to go really tempt there or really reward the pro users. So I'll have major closeouts, big buys on I mean, we did the last year's Metanium. We've done some really high end stuff that's a screaming price that we would never do to the general public. That's just a pro purchasing thing.
And that you contractually would not be able to do.
Actually, you're actually correct. Some of it has to be behind that paywall. So there's things that you will benefit from as if you're a bougie angler, I'll pay you off on that part, I promise. So
yeah, I mean, well, the new SVs came out at ICAST, so Omnia had a decent amount of SVs, and they were close to half off.
They were
at one point.
They were almost a buy one get one on that. So and we bought up every single one we could. And we had lots, to say the least. And people got to take it.
And they still didn't last very long.
No. We're going to do more of that kind of stuff. I plan on stepping on the gas on that kind of stuff. So look for all that kind of stuff coming your way if you're a pro user. So,
and if you're curious about pro, you haven't tried it yet, we do have a 7-day free trial. If you download the app and take a look at the main screen, it'll pop up right there for you. You get 7 days to try it all for free.
Yep.
I was gonna. I thought I had a link.
Another thing too, I know we were touching on with all the pro stuff. Kipp touched on it earlier. If you're pro, you also get earlier access to restock. So I know a lot of you have mentioned things that were out or whatever. When we get that stuff in, pro users get notified before the general public gets notified. So it's a nice thing, especially when you look at things like Sakamata or
when the Mooch Minnow drops.
The Mooch Minnow drops, I guarantee you it will burn through the first batch, and then you'll be a pro user going to know. So
there you go. Daniel said he just got SLXXT for $99 a few days ago.
Nice. We've done a bunch of those, and then we'll be doing more. So
yeah. So I did drop some links in the chats if anybody hadn't found their way to Omnia and you're wondering what all the fuss is. Good to remember. So today is the last day for the July code. There'll be a new code tomorrow. So yeah.
On that note, again, I wasn't kidding about those Horizon Head guys. You'll see why in a couple weeks. I can't talk about it, but there'll be a lot of stuff about those heads, and I don't want you guys that have been paying attention and following Rich to miss out. I'd use HellaBass's code if you're a scoper and go get some of those Horizon Heads soon, because that's going to be one of the harder things to get, just like Sakamata shads here, pretty quick. So the big
AJ
hook
wants to know if is it just going to be like painting, or is it going to be like jigs and molds and hooks and
jigs and molds and hooks and blank crankbaits and paints and all that kind of stuff. I'd like we want to do it in a real way to really support that custom lure manufacturing. I want you guys to think about the fact that it's really hard for us to scale in a timeline to really service the multi-species angler around the whole country for all these different species and all that stuff, and destination anglers. So we want to find a way to service all these anglers, and maybe some of that might be able to be serviced with some of this customized lure manufacturing stuff. So,
and you want to do it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
But you also want to not cut back on swamp lords and horizon heads and all that stuff. So you want to make sure that like it's a stepped, methodical process, and you're not. Yep.
Correct. Yeah. If we were going to do it, we want to do it first in class, and that's something that we scaled the bass fishing tackle sales at a very slow, methodical pace, and it's worked. It's just I wish we could go faster. With this next phase, we'd like to go a little faster with the lure customization. So that's going to be more of a big project that kind of lands. So so it's going to take a little while, but it's coming.
Oh, good deal. Well, appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
I know you Pete's got to get some sleep. He's got a drive in the morning.
I still got to go. Yeah, got the truck, so I'm going to go do that right now. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun talking, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
I'm going to probably hang on for a few seconds. I'll let you guys go. I'm going to wrap things up, but yeah, more to come. Exciting. Thanks guys. Good luck.
It, thanks, buddy. Bye.
All right. Well, that was awesome. Good talk. Love talking tackle. Love to have the guys on from Omnia. I know we talk about them a fair amount, and I think most of you enjoy the service. I mean, like there's very few that said, I guess I don't think I can think of anybody that was like, man, I wish you would have never referred me to Omnia. It's been a bad experience. Like, I think everybody that has shopped with Omnia has appreciated. So, so I do got a box. We can open this up quick since we're still under 2 hours. I got some stuff from AJ. He made a post on the interwebs on Facebook or something that I saw, and I thought I could use some stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like. There's a few companies I work with, and I try to. I feel like the companies that I work with are very people that I enjoy their products, and they're good people, and I feel like it feels good to talk about them, because I feel like when you guys leverage them, whether it's Dobbins or Powerhouse or Arsenal or Omnia, like you guys have good experiences. So I think that's look at this. Look at this first thing we got a horseshoe tackle magnet. Look, I got 2 magnets from Horseshoe now. I got this one. Maybe I need to change this cabinet so you can see them better. Glad you like the show, Nick. Then there's a new slap. You can maybe put that on the old laptop. Some sustainable recyclable packing material. All right, so here's what got me. Is AJ has been taking his hands at tying up some is this the mother clucker? Is that what we called this? AJ? So there's a 3/4 ounce and kind of like a perchy pattern. So this is definitely not as big as a chicken jig or the Minnesota mullet, but it's still a pretty good size, and it has a nice. I mean, it does a nice job. This is kind of a mid-size. I'm kind of excited about this. I can see even throwing this on leech for smallies, maybe, because it's a little smaller. So, yeah. So I bought these to try these out. So they're all sold. So now he's looking for feedback. So, and he does. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't throw them with the weed guards, but you do have the option to glue in your old weed guards if you want. So I don't think I'll be partaking in the weed guard, but the trial. All right. So that was And then I ordered some of his hand-tied drop shot hooks to try. So I believe these are Gamugatsu hooks that AJ ties a keeper on. So got some of those. A fellow jig guy says they look great, AJ. Give a review. I will give a review. And then I bought, that's all that's resting here. Oh, AJ threw a bonus in for me. He sent me one of his favorite live target frogs. Best new soft bait, ICAST. What year would this win the ICAST? I'll have to ask you more about those little things, AJ. But I ordered some of AJ's hand-tied finesse jigs, which he was running a little sale on these. So these could probably play at Vermilion and Leech potentially. So ordered a bunch of the hand-tied jigs. State record walleye coming off that jig on Leech. Who's AJ? AJ is Horseshoe Tackle. Sean, have you been living under a rock? Are you even part of the community, AJ, Sean? No. So here's those drop shot hooks. If you want to see a close up. Number 2, Gamugatsu B10 stinger hooks. And he applies a hook keeper and you get 5 hooks for $5. I feel like it's a pretty good dig. So, and then the jigs are all on sale, 2-pack for $8. So good time to grab some of these if you would like to get some of these jigs. Yeah, there's a link. And then AJ also does custom paints, things like that. I just want to see everything. Don't make me pick. This is what he does with his rock crawlers. For those that are rock crawler fans. So, it's AJ, Sean. You want to open the fin? You want me to open a jig so you can see out of the package? Is that what you're asking? I want to know how many of these jigs you want to get rid of. All right, let's see what color do I want to open? For a 5/16 Mindy Magic. So he's got them in both a light. This is the light wire finesse jig. So they're wire tied. This one has the lighter hook, a little more of finesse. And then he's got a heavier hook version as well. Well, you just went to, AJ, that's probably a good way. If you actually want to get rid of the jigs, going on Whatnot probably would not be a crazy idea to get rid of those jigs. Are you talking about the painting or the jig bluegill? Cuda. So if you want to help AJ out and get rid of his jigs, $4 for a hand-tied jig is a pretty sweet deal. And I want to say if you spend $50, do you get free shipping? Does that sound right, AJ? Yeah, $50. So you go buy 7 packs of jigs, free shipping. You'd be hooking yourself up. Jig bluegill. This one? No. The bold bluegill. Or no, the regular bluegill. I think I actually have some of those in here. Ugh. So Kuda says this is one of his favorite patterns right here. So I'll open one up. So we'll see it in real life. It's basically green pumpkin, magic craw with a little bit of orange. Kind of high level. So there you go. All right. I don't know. So I guess I'll just give you guys a quick little. So next week, iffy whether I can do a stream. It'll really depend on the Wi-Fi because I'll be at Vermilion most likely next week fishing the state tournament. So 50-50 on whether there'll be a stream. If it is, it might be at a weird time. And then the following week, I think I actually have a pretty good guest booked for that week. And if you think this kind of stuff is cool, you're definitely gonna not want to miss the 2 weeks from now. Got that book. And then definitely probably the week of the Open, I would say it's probably unlikely that I would go live. Although the place I'm staying might have decent internet, so maybe. But might be a weird time. So we do have to be off the water at noon on Wednesday, so we'll see. But appreciate everybody hanging out. Even though we had low numbers, we had an active group. So maybe that's because I didn't go live last week and YouTube's making me pay. But yeah, appreciate all the questions. It could be Cuda. It could be. There might be some juice in a couple weeks. So yeah, hoping to have the Lake St. Clair tournament video out next week. It's in my editor's hands. If not, I got some other videos that will be dropping. But yeah, appreciate everybody. AJ will send you stickers if you say that you found jigs on the HellaBass stream. But thanks for all the good lucks. Obviously, watch Instagram, Facebook. I'll be posting stuff and that kind of stuff, giving little nuggets and tidbits if I'm not on YouTube. And everybody, as always, here to help you guys catch more big bass and suck less. And if you want to just send me your favorite waypoints all over the country, send them to me and don't send them to Aaron because he's a grump. Maybe a magnet too. Yeah, it seemed like notifications were off tonight. Like something didn't quite didn't quite hit with the YouTube tonight, so maybe some of you guys will be watching this on the replay later. There's Caro. What's up, Caro? But yeah, be a lot of fishing in the next 3 weeks, which is good. Content coming for you guys.